Robert Redford has always carried a particular aura on screen. Charismatic, trustworthy, the kind of guy who could sell you a used car and you'd thank him for the privilege. Which is why it's deliciously ironic that some of his most memorable roles involve him lying, cheating, or spying his way through one conspiracy after another. And if you squint just right, these roles don't stand alone at all. They form one long espionage odyssey, a decade-spanning arc where a bright-eyed CIA analyst becomes a bitter spy master, reinvents himself as a private sector hacker, and finally resurfaces as a Marvel villain trying to control the world. Accident? Or the most subtle cinematic universe of all time? Let's dig in. Our saga begins in the mid-70s, with 3 Days of the Condor. Redford plays Joseph Turner, a low-level CIA analyst whose job isn't glamorous fieldwork, but reading books and analysing patterns. Basically, he's the guy who has to sift through spy novels to see if anyone accidentally guessed the CIA's playbook. Imagine having that job on your resume. Professional paranoid librarian. Of course, Turner discovers something he shouldn't. A hidden CIA plan involving oil interests and political assassinations. And the next thing you know, everyone in his office is massacred while he's out grabbing lunch. Lesson 1 in the CIA: never leave the building for sandwiches. Turner suddenly finds himself on the run, hunted by his own agency and forced to piece together a web of betrayal. By the end of Condor, Turner has survived, but not triumphed. He's disillusioned. He's seen the ugly truth behind the agency he thought he was serving, and he walks away not with closure, but with the kind of trauma that festers. This is our origin story. A man who started out believing in the CIA's mission and ended up questioning everything about it. Jump ahead more than 25 years, both for Redford and conveniently for his character. In Spy Game, he's Nathan Muir, a seasoned CIA officer mentoring the younger Brad Pitt. Muir is a man who has spent his entire life in the shadows, and it shows. He's not wide-eyed and idealistic anymore. He's weary, calculating, and let's be honest, he looks like he hasn't trusted anyone since Nixon. This is where the thread from Condor starts to tighten. If Turner didn't walk away, if he stayed with the CIA long enough, he'd turn into Nathan Muir, a man who knows the game inside and out, but has lost faith in the rules. Muir manipulates, schemes, and bends everyone around him to achieve his goals. But the sparkle of morality? Long gone. He still has a conscience, but it's buried under decades of compromises and betrayals. By the end of Spy Game, he outsmarts his own agency to save his protege, but not without burning every bridge left standing. It's classic, company man finally rebels against the company. And it fits neatly as the next stage in Redford's character arc. Turner was the kid screaming, "This system is corrupt." Muir is the older version saying, "Yeah, it's corrupt, but I'm better at playing it than anyone else." Yes, chronologically, the movie came out before Spy Game, but in the Redford cinematic spy timeline, Sneakers feels like the logical post-CIA chapter. Here, Redford plays Martin Bishop, a former hacker and ex-government operative who now leads a private team testing security systems. Think of him as a spy who cashed out and started a startup. Only instead of a Silicon Valley office with beanbags, he's got Dan Aykroyd, Sidney Poitier, and River Phoenix hanging around cracking jokes. Bishop is still paranoid, still carrying the scars of his past, but now he's working for himself. He's left the CIA behind, but can't quite escape the games of espionage. When his team gets tangled up in a plot involving a code-breaking device that could end privacy as we know it, Bishop is pulled back into a life he thought he'd escaped. By the end, Bishop wins, but only barely. He saves the day, humiliates some government agencies, and goes home a free man. At least until someone knocks on his door again. Bishop feels like the natural evolution of Turner Muir. Too jaded to be a true believer, too skilled to retire, and too addicted to the spy game to ever truly walk away. Finally, the end game. In Marvel's The Winter Soldier, Redford plays Alexander Pierce, a high-ranking statesman and, as it turns out, a Hydra kingpin. He's polished, charming, and speaks with the authority of a man you want to believe, until you realize he's planning mass surveillance and targeted assassinations to reshape the world in his image. And here's where the grand narrative clicks into place. After decades of being burned by secrets, betrayals, and corrupt systems, what if Redford's character just gave up resisting? What if Joe Turner's paranoia, Nathan Muir's cynicism, and Martin Bishop's private crusading all finally collapsed into Alexander Pierce's worldview? If you can't beat them, control them. The rookie who once exposed corruption has become the face of it. The man who once ran from the CIA has evolved into the kind of man who is the CIA. Or worse, Hydra. Pierce's fate in Winter Soldier is the ultimate conclusion to this arc. He isn't just disillusioned, he's embraced the corruption. He's the final stop in a long career of compromises, the dark mirror of the bright-eyed kid from Condor. Put these films together and you have one of the most fascinating, unintentional character arcs in cinema. A man starts out as an idealist, becomes hardened and manipulative, retreats into the private sector but can't leave the game behind, and finally gives in entirely, turning villain. It's less James Bond and more a Greek tragedy about a man eaten alive by espionage. And what makes it work is Redford himself. His persona, clean-cut, trustworthy, American golden boy, sells every stage of the journey. You want to believe him in Condor. You respect him in Spy Game. You root for him in Sneakers. And you feel betrayed when he reveals himself in Winter Soldier. That's not just acting. That's a lifetime of cinematic storytelling dovetailing into one unbroken spy narrative. So, did Robert Redford secretly play the same character across 4 films, spanning almost 40 years? Probably not. But it sure feels like he did. And he turns a handful of thrillers and one Marvel blockbuster into an accidental epic about the rise and fall of a spy who couldn't outrun his past. And honestly, isn't that more fun than just saying he played 4 different roles? Now, I'll throw it to you. What do you think? Was this all an intentional through line? Or am I just connecting red string on a corkboard like a conspiracy nut who's had too much coffee? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Before we wrap up, I need to take a moment to acknowledge something far more important than cinematic theory or playful speculation. Since recording this episode, the world has lost Robert Redford. And when I say lost, I mean cinema, storytelling, and culture as a whole are poorer without him. Redford wasn't just another movie star, he was the movie star. of his generation. A man who could embody intelligence, charm, and quiet intensity with just a look. From Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid to All the President's Men, from The Sting to 3 Days of the Condor, he gave us performances that defined not only his career, but entire eras of filmmaking. And when he stepped behind the camera with films like Ordinary People, or founded Sundance to give independent filmmakers a voice, he proved he wasn't just an actor. He was an architect of modern cinema. In a way, his career mirrors the very spy narrative I've been weaving. A man who saw the world, questioned it, and used his power to try and make it better, whether through his performances, his directing, or his advocacy for independent film. Robert Redford leaves behind not just movies, but a legacy. A reminder of what true artistry, dedication, and presence can achieve. His passing is the end of an era, the curtain falling on a titan of film. But through his work, his voice, and his vision, Robert Redford will never truly be gone.